Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of the world's biggest stars and some of my favourite people, and Tina Malone is one of them. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Alex, and thanks for having me.
No, it's my pleasure. So let's describe the picture then. Here I am sat at my desk talking to you, and you've got a baby on your knee.
Yes, actually, I've just got in from town. I've just been and had lunch with my husband, and I'm sitting on my couch eating a packet of 12 with my gorgeous 11-week-old beautiful daughter playing, lying asleep, and just, well, actually, no, she's got one eye open, really, and I'm still looking at her in absolute awe.
All right, we're going to cover all of this, but I've got to start with you're eating 12s. Now, you look delicious. How are you able to do that and lose weight?
Well, to be honest, 5 years ago, I had the gastric balloon. I'd got to 19 stone. I was seriously depressed, and I was eating like a pig. I was injecting insulin 3 times a day and on 38 tablets a day for everything from beta blockers to metformin, almodipine, lisinopril for anxiety and one thing and another, and coupled with the weight and you know, the diabetes and the Cushing syndrome. I'm now 5 years on. Well, this time last year I was size 8 and down to 8 stone 2 from 19 stone 2.
Wow.
And to be honest, I've had a gastric band. It's well known. I had the balloon, lost 4 stone, had the balloon taken out after 6 months in 2009, and then regained 2 stone, as you do. Because I'm OCD, bipolar, all those things, I can't, unfortunately, Alex, moderate. So I need something like a gastric band, either that or cut my throat to stop me eating everything to excess. So, yeah, I managed to get, in fact, I only got up to 13 stone with flame at the end of my pregnancy, and I'm back down now to 11.2. So within the next 2 or 3 months, I will be back down. Once I've had my band tightened again, next week, I will get down to size 8 again.
I've got great admiration for you. I mean, you're talking to a guy who's just lost 4 stone. I, like you, have battled with weight my entire life. What worries me about this, though, as is the case with you, it's a life thing, isn't it? There's no such thing as a diet. You've got to make it as part of your life.
You know what the problem is nowadays, and I could write a book, let alone my autobiography. I could write a book on diets, as probably you can. I come from a heavily dominated group of women in my family, you know, the Irish Catholic, and my mum and her 4 sisters are all very beautiful women. I'm very lucky to be slim and gorgeous. My mother's 8 stone and size 8 and always has been, but they watch what they eat. And my mum has said all her life, moderate. Well, as with everything, whether it was smoking, drinking, work, sex, whatever, I can't moderate. It's not in my vocab. Doesn't happen to me. So hold my hands up. The only way you're going to control my eating was a gastric band or a gastric bypass. And I know that sounds drastic, but having tried everything from Slimming World and Weight Watchers and Light and Life and Lipo Trim, the Cambridge diet, the heart and lung, the banana, the cabbage, blah, 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 what you do realise is these diets do all work. But it's maintaining, it's not losing the weight, it's maintaining. Now, you've done it, obviously, the hard way, Alex. But what I would say with most people is, and I guarantee when you see these slimmers of the year who've lost, you know, maybe 6 stone, 8 stone, 10 stone, I guarantee it's in your makeup, whether it's genetically or your psyche, to overeat, to overindulge with food, and you got to a place where you were that big, it will come back on you again the minute you have a traumatic situation or you're a comfort eater or whatever. So the gastric band is for life. I kept it in during my pregnancy. I'm the first ever only what they call celebrity, although I hate that word, to do that, to be pregnant with IVF at 50 and keep the gastric band in. And it just got pushed up while the uterus expands along with the liver and the kidneys, etc. And it's worked for me. I mean, you know, I lost 8 stone in the first 8 months, and over 24 months, I lost 11 stone. So it's simple as that.
Again, I absolutely admire you for it. I mean, my whole day's spent worrying about eating and worrying about not eating. Where are you at now with it? I mean, you can't physically eat, but you still...
The simple answer is, and it sounds that easy, but... to eat, all these fads that we have, don't eat at night, is absolute scientific garbage. You are supposed to have your meal at whatever time. You are supposed to have supper. People say, oh yeah, but if you eat after 6, it will stay on you. And look, I've lost 5 pounds in 2 weeks, it shows. That's absolute garbage. That's just because you cut down. Your body is not affected by the times you eat. The only reason they go on about breakfast is because it kickstarts your metabolism, because it has been resting. But if you don't eat from 6 o'clock, your body almost goes into shock and goes, right, you're not going to eat between now and 7 or 8 in the morning, right? So therefore, your body goes into shock and doesn't work as hard. But that's why you still eat your tea, whether it's between 6 and 8, and then you eat at night, whether it's 10 or 11 or 9, and you have supper, whether it be toast or crackers or a pudding or whatever. The key is this. It's this simple, Alex. Eat little and often. So now I do eat spinach every day. I do eat porridge every day. I do have, well, I attempt to have an English breakfast at weekends because I love them. I can't get them in.
So does the dog.
Excuse me, that's my cocker. She hears someone walks past, she goes ballistic. But, you know, it is that simple, little and often, and you can eat anything. When I say I'm sitting here now with Cadbury's chocolate buttons and a packet of twirls my husband's just given to me, and I eat a couple of them, and then I'm bursting. So I eat chocolate every day, Alex. You see, I was never a pie or a pasty girl. I'm a chocolate and cake girl.
Yes, same here.
You know what? You'd have to shoot me to stop me eating chocolate.
What's interesting about you, though, you've always been sexy and you've certainly never had a problem with sex. And I know for me, I'm ginger and deeply unattractive, so being fat as well, it couldn't be worse if I was German. You've never had that. No, honestly. So,
Alex, no, do you know what? It's a funny thing, isn't it, with women? You know, you can laugh someone into bed, you know. I played a fat, funny scouse bird for 20 years. I mean, I always remember reading Cary Grant's biography years ago, and you know where it said he pretended to be somebody he wanted to be till he became that person.
Right.
My problem is I was that fat and enormous. I knew how ugly I had become, but this isn't a facade or bravado or bull. This is the truth. I walk in a room and I'm astonished if all the men don't fancy me, even when I was a monster. I just don't get it. So it never affected my confidence, low self-esteem with things that have maybe happened in my life to me, you know, whether that be abandonment, rejection, failure, insecurity or whatever. Low self-esteem is a very different thing than confidence. Very different. Every job I go for, I think they're insane if they don't take me, unless I'm not right and they're looking for a 6 foot 8 stone blonde who's 25 years of age. But I am astonished when every man doesn't want me. I always have been. I don't, you know, when people say, oh, you're punching above your weight, literally, God in heaven, I'd have had to be coming on to Robert De Niro to punch above my weight. Nobody is. And I think, you know what, that comes from having a wonderful father, a very stern, very strict father, but having a really wonderful father who said to me at a very young age, you know, good boys and bad boys like good girls. So always keep your hand on your halfpenny. And I always knew from a kid I was never going to be anyone's for a bag of chips and half a lager. So, you know, I think far too highly of myself, I guess, where men are concerned. But in saying that, you know, people keep telling me how ordinary I am. I don't think I'm anything special. And, you know, my daughter is very beautiful. My mother's very beautiful. Alex, you know, you just said about yourself, believe you me, love, I was hit with the ugly stick. It jumped a generation, the beauty with me, but I got the brains and the personality. And being a woman, you can laugh people into bed. Do you know what I mean?
You can, and I have, but the trouble is once I've taken my clothes off, they're still laughing. That's the problem.
Well, I hope you laugh at me, love.
Yeah, but seriously, though,
what you've got, it's how you use it.
I am fascinated, though, by that psychology that you could be so confident on the one hand and so insecure on another. Have you tried to sort of dig deep and work out how you can have had the issues you have and at the same time be so confident?
Well, yeah, because I had years of cognitive therapy, and I mean real cognitive therapy. I don't mean a counsellor who got a degree off the back of a cornflakes pack, after 3 weeks training. I mean proper psychiatrist. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Alex. I'm odd. I've always been an odd person. I was an odd child. I loved being with loads of people. Then I loved being on my own. I used to open the door and lie to kids and go, I can't play out. My mum and dad won't let me. And my mum and dad would go, we will. But I just used to go, shh. I just didn't want to go out. I loved being with me. That's how it was, and the way I've always been. But
so let me ask this question then.
Might you love me or hate me? There's no kind of in between, really.
But what's interesting about that then, I wonder whether you've got so much time with yourself that you're too almost intelligent and you're thinking too much, and that could lead to some of the neurosis that you've suffered. Do you think that could be possible?
Totally agree with you. I am typical Aquarian, genius bordering on madness. I am opinionated, self-obsessed, but I'm also a great listener and a great mentor. I appreciate beauty in all areas of life and youth and vitality. That's why I love to teach and write. But I've never been the kind of bird that's, bothered by a prettier girl next to me. I know a lot of celebs are. I really, really don't care, because if there's a 20-year-old beauty blonde on one side of me and a 30-year-old stunning brunette on the other, I think you're quite seriously insane if you don't want to spend your time with me. And if they've got something better, well, do you know what? Well done, girls. Good luck to you.
Is this bravado, or do you really believe that?
No, I seriously believe it, but I always have done. I mean, don't get me wrong, Alex. I was an angry fat bird, defensive. And I do think when you're fat, it makes you angry. And I think it makes you quite ruthless. I mean, the saddest thing about being a big fatty is when I see the big fatties now saying, oh, no, I'm happy, and I say you're a liar, is that I didn't go, I'm a big fat bird and aren't I great? I went, I'm a big fat ugly bird, but I know how everything else is wonderful about me. That's what I'm saying. I didn't kind of go, look at all my fat, doesn't that make me sexy? I just look like you'd have a good time with me, whether we were talking or in the bedroom or the kitchen or wherever. So
now when you look in the mirror and you've lost this huge amount of weight, what do you see?
Well, that's a whole, God, I could spend hours telling you that, Alex, I'll be honest with you. It took me a while to get to grips with going into Harvey Nicks and being able to try a pair of Gucci or Prada pants on with a zip and a button at the side that was size 8, and I could get my fingers in. It took me a while to get to grips with that. What is funny is most of my friends say, you now think like a skinny bird. I actually do watch what I eat. I mean, the gastric bands that I had it done with the hospital group in this country, and they're phenomenal. And I did research the clinics, and what I liked about the hospital group was, Alex, their post-care is brilliant. And you have regular checkups, and I don't mean because of who I am. But, the proof's in the pudding, isn't it? I didn't want to be one of those celebrities who kind of went, well, I've gone from a size 20 to a size 14 and then bailed it back on again, I knew when I do something, I knew from a size 28 I was going to get to an 8 or a 6, to the point where I was starting to look a bit ridiculous, too thin. I mean, I've never been a beauty. I'm no oil painting. You know what I mean? Just the way it goes, isn't it? The way the cookie crumbles. I'm 5'1". I'm never going to be tall and elegant. That's just the way it is. Physically,
though, I mean, one of the things I've struggled with, just losing 4 stone, is the toll it takes on the body. I mean, are you a big mess under the clothes, or how is it looking?
No. Do you know what? I've got I've got a lot of skin around my stomach. I'm quite lucky in so much as, I mean, I don't think I look 51. But my skin's good on my arms and my body. I'm quite lucky that way. I have quite greasy, oily skin, which has benefited me in later life. So no, I don't look horrendous. I've just got, I guess, a flap of skin, my stomach, but it's not kind of down to my knees. And, inevitably I lost the big boobs, so I've got my boobs at the moment are like golf balls in socks. People say they're like spaniel's ears. No, I could wrap mine round the back of my neck. But And I've got a big, sexy, younger husband, and my God, does he love me. Funny enough, we were just laughing walking through town. I'm looking at all these girls and going, no, she looks fab, and he's not one of them fellas who looks to the floor. He'll look with me and go, well, no, yeah, or whatever. But
so you've got to say to yourself then, Tina, and what fascinates me about this is what's the point? What's the point of losing all that weight if he loved you big and he loves you slim? And even if you've got to...
now he doesn't need a JCB to throw me around the bedroom, that's why. And also to prolong my life. And I want to be able to get in a bath with him and sit on him, not like have to hoist me out of it. So,
did it ever matter, though, in the beginning? I mean, did he care? Is this all about you? Because it sounds to me, I mean, he's...
Oh, my God, of course it's about me. He didn't care. I mean, he, in so much as he's glad that I get wolf whistles more now and that men go everywhere I go. Oh, my God, you look incredible. To the point where my cousin, Carol, actually went to me, who's always been a size 10. She went, it must have been incredible being as fat as you were to suddenly go from being huge and ugly to looking fantastic, because so many more people comment on how you look. And he's glad that men look at me and I can wear shorts and I can wear a bathing costume on the beach and stuff like that. Of course he's glad. He'd be a liar if he wasn't. And he does say, I'm not a pizza eater, but he'll say to me if my slice of cake's too big, hey, come on. You know what I mean? But he loves me anyway, and I mean, he knows how good I am in the living room, in the kitchen, and in the bedroom, so he ain't going nowhere. No lap dancer in the world's ever going to run away with him. He just, you know what? I've never pinned a man down because I always think they'll do what they're going to do. But basically, why would he chomp on a burger when he's got fillet steak at home?
And I don't know about you, losing weight does make you feel sexier and therefore hornier and want to be more sexual.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I've always been like that, so it's not really, that's not really ever been an issue with me. I've always been a 3 times a day girl, Alex, although I hasten to add, not at the moment. I beat him off with a big stick. In fact, I only said to him before, I've still got my big pregnancy knickers. If I wore them on my head, you'd still jump on me, wouldn't you? And he went, yeah. So, without being vile, but yeah, seriously,
and how easy is that to find? I mean, I guess you've spent your whole life looking for someone who loves you for being you. I mean, this guy sounds like an angel.
You know what he is? He's very laid back, Paul. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a 32-inch waist and a 44-inch chest. He's in the gym 7 days a week. And he's an ex-soldier, 10 years. He's seen things in Iraq and Afghan and Northern Ireland that, me or you wouldn't want to see. But he brings, a wealth of maturity in that way that I don't have to our relationship, because I am irresponsible in a lot of ways, spending, paying bills, God knows what else. I'm like a child. But like he always says, he sees the actor Tina Malone, sees the teacher, sees the mentor, sees the auntie, the mother, the sister, and all those things that I am to people. But he gets the girl, and he's very much, he wears the pants. I'm no Jordan, with little men running round fussing over me. He wears the pants as much as I do. I'm an academic. I'm highly read and well-travelled. And he would be the first to stand here next to me and say, I am more educated than he is. But he has a completely different wealth of knowledge and maturity than I do. And it works. And you know what I always think? The day... all us women go, those shoes were 40 quid when they were 400. We just do. That's part of our genetic makeup, I think. Yeah. And he doesn't care and he doesn't get it. And, my husband, you can give him 500 quid to go and spend on 2 pair of trainees and a pair of pants, and he'll come back with 460 and go, I went to Topshop and look what I got. He's not interested in kind of clothes, jewellery and stuff like that, whereas I am, because being a big fat bird and only being able to shop in one shop for 20 years now means I can go in Harvey Nicks and Selfridges and buy all the designers. So I had a room full of bags and boots, but now I've got hence the bankruptcy 2 years ago. But that's been cured because obviously I've been pregnant the last 9 months and now have a almost 3-month-old. I wish you could see her, Alex. She's lying here on my knee in a little cow outfit with little cow bluebells on her feet and little pink ears on her hands, and she is the most beautiful things.
Show business people generally don't like ugly fat people, in your own words, and they also don't like people with big personalities because they outshine them. So how did showbiz, particularly the women in show business, deal with Tina Malone?
Well, women, you see, with being a big fat bird, women never found me a threat.
I'm sorry, I'm not laughing. It's just funny the way you say that, but carry on.
Women, but it's the truth. Women don't... I had friends, actresses who were beautiful or ugly or all shapes and sizes and all ages, because when women stand next to a big fat bird, it makes them look even more attractive. So I was never a threat to them, or so they thought. And men like me because they think, well, you're so fat, you're not going to come on to me, so you wouldn't have the cheek. How wrong they are. And then they end up falling in love with me and going, Jesus Christ, I would never have fancied you if I walked in a room, but my God, now I'd rather have you than any other bird in here. And that's always worked as well. So in terms of showbiz, I think when I was starting out as an actress, I looked at the television, who earned the most money? Pauline Quirk, Caroline Quentin, Dawn French, Joe Brand. And I thought, these are all big birds. So my father always says, you get more and more and more, because in showbiz you can be anything you want. And as much as we bang on about anyone from the Kardashians and all these weight to Nicole Richie, to Jordan, to Cheryl Cole, all the weight disorders, I also think when you hear these, even our local kind of talent, the Martine McCutcheons, the Michelle Heatons, all kind of going through one food disorder and another, I think it's more their insecurity about the magazines and about everything. You see, I personally don't care if you take a picture of me tomorrow sitting in a cafe with a big cream bun hanging out my mouth with the cream all up my nose and everything. If I'm enjoying it, I don't give a toss, right? I actually really don't care what photos you take of me. I'm not interested.
But can't you see you're not playing that game, though? I mean, they're playing a game of being hot, and the trouble with age and show business is they get bored very quickly.
What, I've always been the same, whether I'm whatever age, and I don't mean giving up, because I love nothing more now than dressing up. And we're big boxing fans, me and my husband. We go to all the fights. I'm friends with Frank Warren, and we get a lot of, whether it's kind of Eubank or the Smiths or, Kawasaki or, Ricky Hatton. We go a lot of the fights, and I'm ringside. And I love the fact that, of 20,000 men there and only 1,000 women, that all the men are going, oh my God, you look amazing. I love it. Of course I love attention. But if someone shouted, you fat, I'm not interested. I really, seriously, unless he's sleeping with me or paying me mortgage, I don't care. Have
you had that where people have been deliberately rude?
I don't think anybody would dare, to be honest. I mean, people keep saying to me, don't they? She says as she puts another chocolate button in her mouth. People keep saying to me, about the whole IVF thing, well, aren't you worried about the negativity? And I go, what negativity? I'm not aware of any. I mean... And I'm seriously not blinkered. I mean, I'm one of them women who can have a conversation with 3 people in a room and hear what's going on over there.
Right.
I'm nosy. I got slim for my health, to have a baby, to wear knickers and bras in the bedroom with the lights on, and to look sexy, and for my health, and to live longer, and to have IVF, right? Because my doctor went, who ate all the pies? And you've got no chance of getting IVF whether you pay for it or mortgage your house for it, the size you are. No doctor in his right mind is going to give you IVF. So I got myself ready. I mean, you know what? I don't criticise anyone. I don't care what anyone else does. I can celebrate, beauty, whether it's Charlize Theron or Cheryl Cole, to very beautiful, talented women.
But you said earlier about young girls. I mean, what do you think the impact compared to somebody like you as a big personality who doesn't care, or somebody like the Cheryl Coles who is so stick thin, or even Victoria Beckham, who's probably a better example? I don't know a guy in this world who finds her attractive because she's so thin.
I don't know a woman really who finds her attractive, but I kind of think you can be thin and attractive and sexy, because Kate Moss is a perfect example of that. I seriously believe she doesn't care what people think. Victoria Beckham's a whole different kettle of fish, I mean, isn't she? I mean, she's a wonderful mother, designer, and all those things, but I guess if you haven't got one particular particular wonderful talent, you will play around with lots of others. And, you know, so, you know, that she's been lucky in so much as she's created a fortune and got beautiful, healthy children. But would I want to be her? No. And people say, why doesn't she smile? I mean, I think it's fairly obvious why she doesn't. You know, I've always rather been...
Why is that then? Why do you think she can't smile?
Because there's a certain sense of achievement that comes with being in our business that you want to attain. Otherwise, why, when you've made your 50 million, don't you bugger off to an island somewhere and just have your kids? No. You want that constant adoration. But if people go to you, well, hang on, you're not one of the best designers in the world, you're not one of the best dancers, one of the best singers, one of the best blah, 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 right? You're always going to feel kind of insecure if that's what you wanted to achieve.
So you think despite all her success and the David Beckham husband, there's still an insecurity there?
Of course there is. My God, she smacks of it. Of course there is. Otherwise, why is she placked in makeup with high heels on every day whilst taking the kids out? Come on.
So if you had the chance to be Tina Malone or Victoria Beckham, you'd rather be you?
Oh my God, the only thing I would want of Victoria Beckham's are 4 beautiful, healthy children and a bank balance. That's it. Seriously, wouldn't want David. You joking? He'd spend longer in the bathroom than me.
It's a bit much, isn't it?
Do you know what I mean? So good luck to her, and I've got nothing against her, but it's not for me. Listen, I'd rather be Judi Dench with 10 million than Jordan with 100 million, and, you know, I'd rather be talented and acclaimed and celebrated. You know, that's just the way it is. Do you know what I mean? You know, of course, I'm like everybody else. I want success. I want money. Do I want fame? No, I don't care about fame. That's why people say, oh, you're really known for being ordinary and accessible. Yeah, I am accessible. Do you know why? My dad, God rest his soul, said to me 10 years ago, you know what? You're no different. Whoever you are, whatever you've got, you're going in the same hole, you poo the same and you eat the same. Yeah. Whatever you've got or you haven't got. So no one's any better. Whatever you achieve is brilliant and you should be proud, but never think you're better than anyone else, any colour, any race, any creed, because you're not. The irony is there are actually desperately deep-rooted insecurities in them. I am seriously not insecure. I would love that chat show. I would love a late-night chat show that talked to, you know, Jeremy Hunt, that got Portillo on, that got Cheryl Cole on, that, you know, the diversity of people and the knowledge I have that I could talk to, it would be second to none, because I wouldn't take any prisoners. I wouldn't be sat on a stage with Meg Ryan going, oh my God, she's bored me to death, what am I going to do? I'd get out of any situation, but then when you've had to most of your life, I guess you can.
There is a sort of Illuminati sort of running the media, isn't there, as such? I hate that word, the media, because it doesn't really exist.
There's always going to be Masons, Illuminati, you know, the Oxbridge set. But you know what you have to do, like Jimmy Mulville did when he went to Cambridge from, you know, Walton in Liverpool. You have to break that mould. And you know, when I left Brookside 18 years ago and said I want to go to the RSC and the National Theatre, and everyone went, you're early 30s, soap star, fat, Liverpool accent, no degree, never been to drama school. I don't think it's going to happen. And it did. I did 10 months at the National with rave reviews. Okay, the RSC haven't knocked on my door yet to play Mother Courage or Lady Macbeth. Let's hope one day they have the sense to do that. But in the meantime, it's their loss. You know, I do think my ability as an actor is, you know, I've got a lot of ability. I know my limitations as well. I also know that I appeal to all women, highbrow and the ordinary woman on the street, because I am very real and I have an opinion on body image, weight issues, drink and drugs, crime, teenagers, and particularly I love teaching kids, and on IVF and the postcode lottery that we have, whether the Tories and whatever else, and I'm politically very aware as well. Don't get me on politics, but you know, do I think I've got a lot to say? Yeah. And if you don't like it, like I say to people, well, turn off and don't listen to me.
This is fascinating. We're here with Tina Malone. A new book is in your stores now, by the way. We should remind people it is as fascinating as the lady herself. I mean, something like Loose Women could give you a platform. Would you go on that?
Yeah, I mean, a mate of mine, Sharon, is the executive producer, and I've done Loose Women, funnily enough, probably about 8 times over the last 4 or 5 years. Strangely enough, I only bumped into Andrea McLean and Sherry Hewson last Friday when I was doing This Morning, and I said, "Do you know, I've not been on your show for over 12 months since I've had my IVF and since I've had my baby." And they were like, "You're joking?" I said, "No, you think I'm here all the time. I haven't been on for over 12 months. As a guest, I was on 8 times. As one of the panel, I don't know. I just would prefer my own."
Are you too much, though? I mean, do they want this level of honesty and this level of realness? Because the one thing that I've learned about executives in TV and radio is they like you to be real under their impression of real, but not too real that you make people nervous. And you do, don't you? Because you tell it as it is.
Well, you know what, though? Sometimes they'll celebrate that. And when you break the bar, maybe it's taken me, I've been on the precipice since I was 40 of, national fame. And what does come with this kind of fame tag is the ability to talk to execs and producers in the way I do now, as in more collaboration than telling me what to say and do. I was in Paul Abbott's, who's a genius from Clocking Off and State of Play to Shameless, and I worked for a company run by George Faber. Very wonderful, incredible producers who've done everything from, discovering Daniel Craig and Christopher Eccleston in Our Friends in the North years ago, right up to Shameless. And I'm working alongside incredible actors and a great crew in Manchester for 9 years, and I'm blessed to have played Mimi, because, those parts go to Robert Carlyle, Ray Winston and De Niro. They don't go to women. But do I think there's life in me yet? Do I think I will continue? My God, Alex, I'm only just beginning. I want my own series. I want to be the female Ross Kemp stroke Louis Theroux. I want to be the British Oprah Winfrey. I want to do dramas. I'm obsessed with Downton Abbey. I'd love to do Corrie or Emmerdale. My daughter's on tour at the moment in 51 Shades of Maggie. She went to university drama school. I struggled to educate her, and she's now an incredibly talented, wonderful actress. Got a beautiful fiance, gets married next year, big wedding in the Lakes, and has done everything right. I didn't. But hey ho, you pick yourself up and get on with life. But she's done everything sensibly. She's 32, beautiful, talented, funny, charming, and clever. And all that's brilliant. And, I've got a load of family who are supportive of me and the baby and what's going on now. But you know what? I'm one of those, Alex. If I'm sitting up tonight and it's 3 a.m. and the baby's asleep and the cleaner's been and I've walked the dogs, me cocker Bella and me teacup Yorkie Bob, and Paul's in bed asleep, I'll start cooking a lemon drizzle cake and think, do you know what? I'm going to try a crunchy topping. Actually, I'm going to make a new kind of carbonara with black treacle.
You could start a conference with your mind, couldn't you, really?
Oh, God, yeah. Do you know what? I do bore myself then. That's why I think I like to be on my own, because it's like if people say, you've got an opinion on everything. You know what? If you ask me to do a documentary on cricket or rugby, I haven't got a clue. I wouldn't know where to begin. So certain things...
You play to your strengths.
Eating, yeah, I have an opinion of stuff that I know about, stuff that I'm interested in, and I can appreciate qualities in other people qualities other people have that I don't have. I know what I'm good at, and I know what I'm not good at, and I'll shout it from the rooftops because I'll have to, and I've always had to.
I've always felt in life people are either sort of radiators or drains. They either give over warmth or they suck the life out of you. And you right now are in a place where you're clearly optimistic and everything's great. Just going back to the book, which is in stores now, I mean, the first story we get to is a beautiful childhood, but then a pregnancy and a baby taken away. Do you think this positivity comes out of the adversity that you've fought?
Well, you know what? I kept my daughter. I mean, she was taken away from me at 5 days and spent 6 weeks in hospital. And I asked my parents, could I keep her? And my dad said, no. If you do, you have to leave this house. And so I left that house and went to live with my auntie miles away because I wanted to keep my baby, which shows that I was immature enough and not strong enough to disagree about going into the Catholic nursing home for bad mothers miles away. But when it came push to shove and I really wanted my baby, I was prepared to walk out of a house and a home with everything to nothing. So, I kind of think, but you know what though, Alex, people go, oh God, you're an incredible woman and you're inspirational, and I've become the Betty Grable, those of you who know she is, Cheryl Cole, shall we say, of poster girl of IVF. But you know what? I was pregnant at 17, pregnant at 50. I don't do things by halves, as my mother says. And it's not for attention, it's just the way it is.
Have you ever forgiven your father? I mean, I don't know how you would get over it.
My God, yeah, I did. I forgave him 12 months later. Because you know what? You have to forgive. I lost my dad 11 years ago. I've still never got over it. He was an incredible man and could be quite cruel and quite strict. But that's the nature of the beast. The older you get, the wiser you become, the more accepting you become as a person. And I am much more accepting now. But don't get me wrong, Alex. I'm still ruthless and cutting edge and I'll cut your throat if you have me off or you harm me. Do you know what I mean? If you don't like me, that's fine.
Right.
But don't harm me or mine, because I'll have you bad. I'll string you up, and I am very much like that.
Are there similarities between Mimi? I mean, I've interviewed a lot of people in Coronation Street, and it seems to me they morph into each other in the end. You can't do that job for that long. I mean, how much was Mimi, how much was you in Shameless?
Well, you know what? Mimi was scouse and fat like me. Scouse, fat, defensive and angry like me. But that's probably where it ends. I wouldn't wear her clothes. I wouldn't wear her hair.
But she loved her family and would fight for them. That was the moral I got from Shameless.
Yeah, but she had a very strange set of principles and morals, We're both Liverpool fans and we're both Catholic as well.
Right.
But I would say that's the end of it. I'm more kind of, you're going to catch me. Mimi's more news of the world and a sausage butty with brown sauce. I'm much more the observer and a croissant and, the latest blueberry juice, believe it or not. And I guess it's a testament to my ability as an actor that people think I grew up on a council estate. And I didn't. I came from a very mixed background. My mum was very poor working class with three very, hard brothers, and my dad was from quite a middle-class Irish French family. So, I had a really strange upbringing. My father was teaching me about politics and, wanted me to be able to say hello and come in and sit down and welcome in everything from Russian and Romanian to French and Spanish, whereas my mother just wanted me to look good in my coat on a Sunday in the parlour for mass. So, it was very strange, very odd upbringing. But I've lived in a flat, in a bedsit, with a kid and a Staffordshire Bull Terrier and hamsters and a lecky meter. And, I've done it both ways. I've been both ends of the scale. And I guess that's how I appreciate. And I've been with all kinds of different men. Believe you me, there's not one type I haven't had.
What have you learnt in life about that? Is numbers better than sort of sticking with the same one that's not very good? Because, I mean, the one thing you do have is experience, isn't it?
No, I can't bear men who've slept with loads of women or been with loads of women. Oh my God, it's the most distasteful. It's like meeting a man who fancies himself. There's nothing worse. I just think experience comes from knowledge, and you know what? You can experience different people at different ages, and a wealth of knowledge can come. I can usually, Alex, to be honest with you, read people, whether they're 15, 20, 25, 35, up to 85. I can read people like a book. Where I am very clever is I'm incredibly perceptive. And also, I can be with anyone from all different walks of life, and people go to me, my God, I've just opened up my life story to you. Where do you get the ability from? But I also have the ability to make people feel good, and I'm very honest. And don't jerk them off. I'm very honest, because as a teacher, I tell people constantly accentuate the positive and work on your negatives.
Yeah.
And that's what I've had to do all my life.
You've mentioned Cheryl Cole many times. Do you pity people like that have this sort of mega fame and lots of money? I mean, you've struggled to get where you are. You've had ups and downs. It's been tough, and it's brought you to a place now where you've found true happiness. What have you learned?
I use her as an example because, she can sing, she can dance. I mean, she's incredibly beautiful.
She can't sing well, though, can she? Nobody ever says Cheryl Cole's the best singer, and you mentioned earlier.
No, but, Leona Lewis ain't ever going to be Barbara Streisand, you know. It's simple as that, isn't it? You know, that's if we look at all, you know, the iconic people in our life, you know, and you know, whether I'm looking at Stevie Wonder and George Michael, who are geniuses, you know, right down to, you know, George Michael's probably one of the most fashionable, or mind you, no, God, if I was saying George Michael to a 20-year-old, they'd go, oh, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
But so, you know, I think I say Cheryl because kids and all women of all ages can associate with her. Do I pity her? No, I think she's kind of fine. And you know, she's got talent and good people around her. And also I've met her a couple of times, and she's a genuinely lovely girl. I think the problem with huge celebs like that is, you know, a lot of the time it's the people they surround themselves with. You see, you know, who was it the other day said they saw Jay-Z walking through Manchester city centre on his own? And I just think, when you hear him interviewed, how intelligent he is, and then you get some tosser, like, well, I won't mention a certain actor, who walks around with an entourage of 6 people, and you think, well, yeah, probably someone is going to punch you in the face, but, you know, you get a grip. You know, you're only as important, really, as, you know, you make yourself out to be. And if you crave that kind of adoration or attention with no backing and no depth to what you do, whether you write, sing, direct, whatever, well, then, you know, people are entitled to have their opinions. I mean, you know, like I've said, Alex, I'm like Marmite, love me or hate me.
Is fame destructive, do you think? I mean, I think of Justin Bieber, almost what you've just described, that you can be surrounded by so many people who are blowing smoke up your arse, you don't know which sort of end of the toilet to flush down.
The perfect example of it is Michael Jackson, isn't it? No one in the world had ever said no to him, and yet he had a very complicated upbringing. And I got to know LaToya quite well, and they had a crazy upbringing. But, you know, nobody during his childhood and later years ever said no to him. So there's a product of absolute mega stardom. How sad, how tragic. Him, Marvin Gaye, Whitney Houston, you know, tragic endings.
But I mean, you mentioned George Michael earlier. It does seem a pattern that to be really good at what you want to do in show business, you've got to be a bit screwed up.
Well, yeah, you have. Let's be honest. Why do I want to walk on a stage, do something that's going to make me sweat, have palpitations, have high anxiety, learn, work on my feet, just for a group of people to go, yeah, that was really good, and clap me for 2 minutes?
Can you still be hurt?
Where does that come from?
If I give you a bad review now, can you still be hurt?
No, not the slightest. What's the worst you're going to say? Tina Malone's a big, fat, mouthy, scouse, militant cow who doesn't shut up and loves the sound of her own voice. And I'd go, that's pretty much right. So I don't kind of see that as a negative. What else?
I think we'll use that as a headline of this interview. How about that? Hey, listen, I'm going to let you go.
You never call me a Tory. We'll be all right. You can call me anything you want.
We didn't even get on to politics. Listen, Tina Malone, I love you very much. I want to meet you properly and do this again because it's been so much fun and fascinating. Again, I didn't get to half the things that I wanted to talk to you about.
Oh, thank you, Alex.
Very finally, about the politics that you have mentioned a couple of times. Where are we at in Britain? Is it getting worse? Is it getting better?
I think it's a big charade. I think we're shrouded in candy floss and garbage. I think it's getting worse. I think globally things are getting worse. The only thing we have intact is human nature, the kindness of human nature, and we only ever see that when there's a tsunami, or quite recently the tragedies in the Philippines and you know, Syria, and it's heartbreaking. And being a mother again, it's absolutely heartbreaking. You know, when people go to me, you've had it hard. My book, Back in Control, is a good read. It's funny, it's sad, it's tragic, but you know what? I go, look at those people with those floods in Somerset 3 or 4 times over with families, old people can't get out, and look at those kids in Syria, maimed, starving, orphaned. You know what? I've had it easy.
If you got your own chat show and you had David Cameron on, what would be your first question?
Probably, are you arresting me, officer? Because I'd have punched him. Oh my God, that's too big a. I'd like to do Cameron and Tony Blair. And you know what show I've always wanted to be on, Alex? and I've never been asked the Andrew Marr show.
Yeah.
And people say, who do you like for dinner? I'd like Jay-Z and Andrew Marr. I'd like the most peculiar people.
Yeah.
But
the most interesting.
I love my politics, but I guess someone called me. I was on Sky TV the other week talking about IVF, and I was talking about the lottery depending on the demographic of where you live, whether you can get IVF on the NHS at 36, 39 or 42 across this country, which is absolutely disgraceful. It's like going from one city to another and saying, well, if you murder somebody in Manchester, you get 3 years. In Liverpool, 8 years. In Glasgow, 20 years. I mean, where's the kind of general consensus or legislation that has the same rules up and down the country? It doesn't work. And what I feel about that is that women are much more educated, making better choices, making later choices, much more successful in the corporate ladder, producing, directing, right through to banking, to whatever job now, nurses, doctors, and so they're choosing later in life to have their children. So why are they penalised when you've paid into a system all those years? It's an absolute disgrace.
I was told years ago that nowhere is it written in the great libraries of Paris, Milan or London that life is fair, and it seems in 2014 it's getting worse. I mean, life is just not fair.
Well, you know what? We're still from the throwbacks of 30 years of Thatcher. People are still drugged up and fighting in the ghettos, which is what she wanted, because while we fight amongst ourselves, we're too apathetic to ever have any sort of a revolution, albeit a peaceful one. In this country, if you rob the state because maybe you're slow or illiterate and you rob the state of a tenner a week because you're moonlighting doing a bit of window cleaning, you'll be thrown in court, thrown in jail. You rob the country of 750 million through your incompetence with shares and banking and God knows what else. You'll get a £3 million payoff and sent to a big house in the country.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't look after our poor. We don't look after our uneducated. We don't look after teens. Why are we the only country in Europe that has the biggest rate of teenage pregnancy? It's cool to be thick. Oh my God, if I was Home Secretary, I tell you what, I'd sort this country out.
What do you recommend? What is going to sort this out? I mean, is it going to be
The thing I would do if I were Home Secretary would give milk back to every child in this country that Thatcher took off. I would also legalise every drug, which I know is contentious of me, but every single drug in the world, I would immediately legalise them.
Including crack cocaine?
Every single drug, everything, crystal meth, crack cocaine, I would legalise everything, because then you take away the titillation and the naughtiness that makes teenagers, leads them to a life of sheer hell on that garbage, because it's no longer attractive. And then I would plough money into the NHS, into the cognitive therapy and mental health institutions to get people help who need it with mental health problems, and get rid of the stigma, because people have such terrible lives that they've come from, and we carry on with that circle of hate and pain and poverty.
You talk party politically about Thatcher and Cameron and stuff like that. I do wonder, though, at the same time we're talking about Blair and what he did to the bank, so I can't vote for Labour and I can't vote for Conservative. Who do we vote for?
What? I also believe Blair took us into a war that we didn't need or warranted, so I have my feelings there as well.
Who do I vote for, then?
Well, for me, I'm a Labour through and through, because I can't get over that Thatcher destroyed the trade unions, destroyed the steelworks, the miners, the shipping.
But they were responsible for the war and deregulating the banks, weren't they?
Yeah, well, you know what? I just kind of think what she did in the 80s to this country, we're still paying back for. You know what? It's better the devil you know. I know all that stuff, and that's how I kind of think. Going back to Labour, I'm Labour through and through. I'm working class. Well, most of us, because we work for a living, but I wouldn't vote Tory. You'd have to stick pins in my eyes and saw me head off to vote Conservative. That's the God honest truth.
About 10 minutes ago, I said that was my last question, and we've done another 10 minutes. I better not do this again. You've got a baby to feed and look after. Tina Malone, I have loved talking to you. It's been my honour and pleasure. Please come on again, and let's meet and have a coffee.
Thank you, Alex.
You're a
Thank
star.
you for having me, and go out and buy my book.
Well, listen, if you thought this was interesting, the book is even better. You get to read it from day one through until today. It is fascinating. What a life, what a lady. Tina Malone's new book is out now. Thank you so much for coming on the programme.
Thanks very much for having me, Alex. Lovely talking to you, love.